with Playthrough Board Games. Tonight we're going to be taking a look at Mage Tower. Mage Tower was originally a Kickstarter game. In Mage Tower, your goal is to defeat a horde of monsters that are coming to destroy the titular Mage Tower, and once you've destroyed those monsters successfully, or at least outlived everyone else, you are the last man or woman standing and have saved the day. I'm going to be taking us through the solo play variant of Mage Tower, and I hope you enjoy this as an overview of the game, as many of the mechanics are the same from version to version. Let's take a look at what Mage Tower has to offer. Alright, so here we go with Mage Tower. The first thing you're going to do when you start Mage Tower is you have to draft a deck of cards. So you start out with some basic cards in your area. Those basic cards include defenders and attackers, and the defenders and attackers can do different things for you, but they all have to do with killing monsters. So once you've got that basic deck in front of you, you'll be drafting cards. In the single player variant here, you draft 13 cards from a big deck of cards. Let me show you this just so you get a sense of how many different unique card choices there are. So I draw 13 cards. This is the single player variant, which is based on the cooperative variant of the game. And once I have all of the cards that I need from the deck here, basically I'll go through these and select which ones seem like the most worthy choices to help me defeat all the monsters. I'll do that, and I'll be right back. Now that I've selected the cards that I will need to start the game, let's take a look at the rest of the components. So the game comes with a bunch of six-sided dice. Those are to keep track of your own health as a Mage Tower, and also the health of monsters and defenders that you have in play. I've replaced the six-sided dice with a 20-sided die for my own health. That's to represent the fact that, well, since I have 20 health, I might as well use a 20-sided die. However, for the monster and defender's health, this still works pretty well as a system to use the six-sided dice. There's monster cards here. Each player, if you're playing a multiplayer version of the game, will have their own monster deck. Or if you're playing the co-op version, you'll have a single monster deck that you will both work together to defeat. And then there is something like this. These tokens here represent gold, which is a resource that you'll get throughout the game that you can spend to buy one of 3 prize cards, which I'll show you in a minute. So that's the basic overview. Let's take a look at the playmat, and we'll get started with Mage Tower. Let's take a look at the basics of the playmat area here. The first thing you'll note is this set of numbers in a row. The 1 is where the first monster will enter play, the 2 is where the second, third, fourth, and so on, up to 8 monsters. And if you should have the misfortune of getting more than 8 monsters on your board at any one time, you can keep going off the playmat. At that point, you'll be doing pretty poorly, however, so hopefully it does not come to that for you. In any case, we'll move and take a look at another area of the board here. This is the second area of the board that's of note. Up here is my health total. Also, when I acquire gold, I'll put it in this area of the board to keep track of how much gold I have. And below that is the monster deck from where the monsters will enter the board, and my player card deck where I get to draw cards in order to replenish my hand, and so on at the end of my turn. To start any game, I draw 2 cards. So I start with a 2-card hand, and at the beginning of each turn, I will also draw 2 cards. That's the overview of the draw area. Let's move to where I get to play my cards in the summoning zone. You'll note in the draw area briefly that there is a discard pile for the player and the monster. To the left of the discard piles is the summoning zone. This is where I get to put any defenders I wish to put into play, and also where I get to play any non-permanent cards, which are then discarded to the discard pile to the right of the summoning zone. That's the overview of the board. let's go and take a look at the prize cards that I can buy with the gold that I acquire throughout the game. There are three types of prize cards in the game. One of these cards is called Glory Seeking, which you can see here. It says deal 2 damage, draw a card if you did not buy Glory Seeking this turn. So that is one type of card I can afford with my gold. That card has a cost of 3 gold, as does Intellect here. Intellect is an ability card that says draw a card, draw another card if you did not buy Intellect on this turn. So each of these cards has a bonus if you did not purchase it on a given turn. Finally, there's a cost 4 gold card. This card is called Summoning. It's slightly better than the other prize ability cards in that it gives you 2 extra energy, and you get the same draw a card if you didn't buy Summoning on this turn. So that effect is also active for Summoning. Let's take a look at the beginning of the game here. We'll get to see some monsters come out, we'll get to see me play some abilities, and see if I can't show you the ropes before we advance the video further and see the end of my playthrough. Alright, so we're here. At the beginning of my turn, I draw 2 cards. So I draw an Elite Archer, and I draw the card Rolling Boulder, which is one of the cards I've drafted. And I also get to take a gold and add it to my stash at the top of the board. So I have my first gold. Once I've acquired between 3 and 4 of these, I may spend them on an ability card if I so choose, although I'm never obligated to do so. Alright, so we flip up the top card of a monster deck. It is a Warlock. The number in the upper right corner, the 3, represents the monster's cost. So on each turn I reveal between 10 and 12 points of monster. That means that I will have to defeat those monsters before they can damage me. When the monsters become angry, that is that they've been out a turn, they will have the opportunity to deal me damage if I do not manage to defeat them on the second turn they are on the board. So we'll add our next monster, the Demon. The Demon is a cost 5 monster, so that puts me up to 8. If the Demon manages to become angry, it will add a demon spawn to my board, thus further polluting it with other monsters. The Orc is a cost 2 monster, and I now have 10 points of monster on my board. I may now begin my turn by playing cards. I may play up to 7 cost worth of cards. For my turn, I will begin by playing the Elite Archer. The Elite Archer says deal 5 damage, and it has a ranged arrow symbol afterward. So I place that in my play area. I look at the monsters here. The Warlock has 2 attack and 2 defense. So the first 2 damage defeats the Warlock. If I successfully defeat a monster, it is not put in the monster discard pile, it is simply removed from play. Then I move the other monsters to occupy the vacant slot. Since I have 3 more damage that I can cause, that damage carries over to the next monster in the row, leaving the Demon here, which has 4 health, with 1, and that is much more manageable for me. Alright, now I have 3 points worth of cards that I can still play. I will be playing the Mana Eater. The Mana Eater is a defender. This is a little bit different. So it has a 3 attack and 4 health, and I place that in my play area. Defenders can only deal damage on my turn. They may not block incoming damage from a monster. This is in contrast to what you encounter in many other games, and so this is an important difference to make note of. So if I attack with the Mana Eater, I can only attack the closest monster, the demon. Since I have 3 attack, I could kill the demon, but the demon has 4 attack and could kill my Mana Eater because my Mana Eater only has 4 health. So I may hold off on that, but at least I've gotten to put the Mana Eater into play. Then I must remove any non-defender or non-permanent cards from my area, and that will end my turn. It is now the monster's turn again. So this demon becomes angry, and we get a demon spawn on my playboard before I even place any new monsters. The orc will also become angry. When a monster becomes angry, we simply flip it over to represent this. Let's move to look at the monster board so we can see further the other monsters coming out. Here is a giant, so this is the first monster to enter on my turn. Here, that's worth 5 points. We get another orc with a 2-point value, and we get a warlock. So that's 10 points worth of new monsters, and we will now attempt to defeat them. So on my turn, I get to draw 2 cards. I draw a card called Mage Tower at the beginning of my turn. I draw a card called Archer. So those are my 2 new cards for my turn. And then I get another gold into my area at the top of the board. So I will go ahead and add that. So here comes my gold. I now have 2 gold. And then I will see what I can do about defeating some of these monsters. If I do not manage to defeat the 2 monsters on my turn, I will have substantial problems in that they will get to deal damage to me and take my Mage Tower's health down. So it's in my best interest to try to defeat these monsters as quickly as possible. Let's take a look at Mage Tower here. So Mage Tower has an interesting ability. It says Mage Tower deals 7 damage, that's range damage. I don't know exactly why a Mage Tower is dealing damage, but it can't damage monsters to lower than 1 health. So extra damage will still carry through because it's range damage, but it can't do more than reduce the enemies to 1 health. So here we go. The demon is already reduced to 1 health, so it ignores that. So the first set of damage here is dealt to the orc, which has 3 health. So that's 2 damage. So it's got 5 left. Demon spawn here only has 1 health, so that gets skipped over in reducing damage. So far I've dealt 2. The giant has 5 health over here. So I have 1 more that's left that will carry over to the back row where the orc is. So the orc will take that last damage and be at 2 health. So that's a pretty good number on everything. I have 2 summoning power left, so I will summon my archer. This deals 3 range damage, and this damage may in fact kill monsters. So the demon takes 1 damage and is removed from play. The orc takes 1 damage and is removed from play. So I killed 2 monsters. And then also the demon spawn here has only 1 health and is removed from play back to a pile at the top of the board, the demon spawn pile. The rest of the monsters are brought forward to fill out the vacant spaces. That is an example of play here. I'm going to keep going through my turn here because I can still attack with the Mana Eater. So if I wish, I may attack the giant at the front. However, that would destroy my Mana Eater. So at this point in time, I will hold off, and that will end my turn. My third turn here, I draw 2 cards and gain 1 gold, so I have 3 gold now. And then I get more monsters after these monsters become angry. The giant becomes angry, the orc becomes angry, and the warlock becomes angry. So the warlock has a special text here. When the warlock becomes angry, it deals 1 damage to you. So I go down to 19 health, and the monsters have drawn first blood from my Mage Tower here. Alright, so I have to decide what I want to do on my turn. The first thing I'm going to do is reveal these monsters to see what else bothers me. So Hellhound enters play angry. This is not good. That's 2 points of monster. There's an ogre. That's 5 points worth of monster. There's a warlock. That's 8 points worth of monster. And a demon would put us over the edge. So 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 would not be possible for us, so we simply discard the demon and we'll encounter it again later. However, another warlock does not, so that's enough points of monsters between the 10 and 12 mark. And now I have my work cut out for me. So here's an interesting card that I would like to play because the circumstances are right. So Rolling Boulder deals 1 damage to the first monster, the closest one. If that monster is destroyed, deal 2 damage to the next monster. If that monster is destroyed, deal 3 damage to the next monster. If that monster is destroyed, deal 4 damage to the next monster. So this has a cost of 5, and the circumstances are perfect. So we deal 1 damage to the closest monster, and that monster is destroyed. We deal 2 damage to the next monster, and lo and behold, that monster is destroyed. We deal 3 damage to this monster, the warlock, which has 2 health, so that monster is destroyed, and finally, we deal 4 damage to this monster, which only has 2 health, so that monster is destroyed. So that's a pretty nice trick. Even though it was expensive, it was worth it in this circumstance. So we bring down the other monsters that were further back on my board, and now I have 2 points left that I could spend if there's anything in that price range, which in fact I have 1 basic archer. So the basic archer deals 3 damage, so I have 1 health left on this ogre, and that's not a bad problem. So going to attack with my Mana Eater this turn. My Mana Eater is a 3/4 creature. This is a 3/4 ogre, so I have 1 health left, but I destroy the ogre, and my monster board is looking pretty empty, which is very good. I'm going to stop the video now, and I will pick up again later, but this should give you a good overview of what the game is like, and a good sense of whether or not it's something you would like to invest in. Alright, so this is the end of the game. It should be noted that I have 2 cards in my area that are worth mentioning. I have the card Champion, which says pay 2 energy, choose a defender you control with energy cost 5 or less. Next time it attacks this turn, it takes no damage. Play this ability only once per turn. So I have the Mana Eater here still in play. It has 4 health left. I equipped it with an armor that gives it potentially 8 health. It has the ability to heal itself if I pay 2 energy. Those are the 2 cards in my play area. Let's readjust and we'll take a look at all the angry monsters that I have to deal with. So this could really hurt. I have 14 life. Alright, up above me I have 7 of the 8 monster spaces filled. This, and these 2 are all angry. The Hellhounds enter play angry, which makes them a bit of a pain since you only have 1 turn to kill them, and these Hellhounds are all the way back at the end of my board. I have my work cut out for me. How am I going to fare? Let's find out. I've drawn my final 2 cards. It's the end of the game. It's do or die time. I have 4 gold. I'm going to spend that 4 gold to buy a summoning card. Summoning here says gain 2 energy. I did buy it this turn, so I don't get to draw a card for this particular summoning, but that puts my energy total at 9. So that's a good start. I have a summoning card that I bought on an earlier turn, so that will put me up at 11, and I also get to draw a new card. I draw an Elite Archer, which can deal 5 damage, which may help quite a bit. I also have my Mana Eater in play, so let's see how far we can get. Start with the Elite Archer. Deal 5 damage. So I had 11, that puts me down to 7. So this can take 1 damage and is removed. This can take 3 damage and it's removed. I have 2 more damage I can deal. The Warlock here can take 2 damage and is removed. So far so good. I have the Giant here, which has 5 health, so he's pretty big. Gonna have to work hard to deal with him. So we are down to 7, and I'm going to play a Knight. The Knight has a value of 3, so that puts me down to 4. I can play one other card or use an ability for the remaining 4. First thing I'm going to do here is attack with my Mana Eater. I am going to pay the 2 energy to make it immune to damage. This champion card has that ability. So the Mana Eater is going to attack the giant, dealing it 3 damage. This is not enough to kill the angry giant, however, at least it's a start. I also have 2 energy left, so it says pay 2 energy and remove 1 damage from Mana Eater, which will put it up to 5 health. So I will go ahead and do that. My Knight here can attack. The Knight has 3 attack. The Giant will deal it 5 damage, killing it, but in turn the Knight will remove the Giant from the board, and that makes up the total amount of energy I had to spend on my turn. It's the beginning of the next turn. There are no more monsters in the monster deck, as you can see, nor are there any in the monster discard pile. So I've emptied that all out, and we shouldn't have any more problems to worry about, except for defeating the monsters on the board. The demon becomes angry on this turn and places a new demon spawn. These 2 hellhounds will deal me 1 damage apiece and be removed from the board. So I get down to 12 life. Unfortunately, seeing as I need to place out new monsters, the hellhounds will come back into play, angry. There are not 10 to 12 points worth of monsters, but they'll keep recycling until I can either defeat them or die in the process of trying. I draw 2 new cards. I have a hand of 4 now. I get 1 more gold, so we'll put that over there, and we get to try to defeat these monsters. The card I'm going to play first on this turn is Corpse Explosion. Shuffle a Defender card from your discard pile into your deck. If you do, deal 6 damage. So it says after playing Corpse Explosion, discard 2 cards or permanently remove it from the game. Since it's late in the game, I'm just going to permanently remove it from the game. The Defender here is the Knight that just got killed, so I'll shuffle that into my deck, and that will be that. Now I get to, for Corpse Explosion, deal 6 ranged damage. So that will take out the demon for 4, its spawn for 5, and deal 1 damage to the hellhound. Corpse Explosion cost 4 to play, so I may play a card worth up to 3, and the card I will choose to play that is worth up to 3 is going to be the Archer. So the Archer says deal 3 ranged damage. The Archer will defeat This hellhound, I have just successfully won the game. This is a big achievement for me as I usually do not win at this game. However, I think I got a good set of cards that finally let me defeat this. I'm pretty excited about this. In any case, let's go through my reactions to the game. Number one, I think it's a very fun game. I enjoy the mechanics. It's very easy to imagine what's going on as you saw all the enemies coming out and attacking. It's easy to place yourself in the mindset of, okay, I have to defend this tower. I'm using all the resources I can to get to these enemies and destroy them. And it's just very thematically implemented. So I did have the sense of a high stakes, high pressure game where, oh my gosh, there's so many monsters coming at me that I have to figure a way to defeat them. That was a positive. I think the artwork is probably the only minor drawback I can come up with. The artwork is all free, open, public domain artwork, which isn't the worst thing to ever happen to a game, but it lacked a sense of unity, in my opinion. Had there been an artist behind the game, I think there would have been a thematic unity across the cards. I hope you enjoyed the playthrough board games overview of Mage Tower. If you want to check it out, I'm sure there's some copies available on Board Game Geek, or you could check Super Mega Games, the game designers company, and see if they have it for sale on their own website. Thank you for watching, and happy gaming.